Welcome back to the Global Gaming Network Power Rankings. We're jumping back into Counter-Strike 2. The Blast Bounty Major is over, and maybe didn't quite go as many would have suspected. Vitality did lose early on, and it was ultimately Spirit that took down their second tournament in a row, so they're on a bit of a hot streak. Of course, that's going to shake up our standings. We got a lot to talk about. Joined with me today is Dylan, our resident Counter-Strike expert. How are we doing today?
Fantastic. Another exciting weekend at Counter-Strike. Spirit gets the dub. It's going to shake up the rankings, that's for sure.
It's going to shake them up indeed. Donk is looking incredible. But let's go ahead and talk about how the scores are produced, just so you guys all understand exactly how these come about. So scores are calculated with 30% on the expert consensus score, where experts are polled to rank the teams as they are. It's then normalized to a 0 to 100 scale. On the other side is performance index, which is weighted at 70%, so the hard data that goes into it, including average placement, map win, and strength of schedule. So just so you know the formula in case you are curious, but with that understood, let's go ahead and talk about number one on the list. That's gonna be Team Vitality. So this team comes in with a score of 91, a bit lower than our last rankings. We had them at 99 before, but back then they looked a bit untouchable. Now, after a couple losses and third place finishes, that's knocked them down a couple pegs. They now have losses to both Maus and to Mongols, which I'm a Mongols fan, so I was a little bit excited to see that personally, but do you feel like these last two placings were just like a bump in the road, or is this a sign of things to come?
I mean, it's tough because the meta is shifting a little bit. We're now in a CT dominant era, which really means a lot of pressure is going to be on your IGL. And yeah, I think Apex is a great IGL. I don't want to put any slide at him, but it is different. You're going to be really pingent on good plays, trying to come on T side, trying to like fight for wins harder and harder. And it just feels like in those clutch moments, they're just not coming up big as they once did. We saw in this one, they basically got eliminated off of a Zywoo miss, which again, those things happen, but it also, in those clutch moments, it does lead to big losses. It is interesting too, because this org didn't change anything in terms of their actual players, but they did do a little bit of a management shakeup after Blast, which is interesting. Maybe this is a downhill trickle from that. Their player manager, Amy, left, as well as some other departures within the organization. So maybe the players logistically are worrying about things they weren't previously worried about. That could be it. I mean, I know the internet's gonna joke about it, but there's a huge stake banner on their chest now, so maybe that changed things a little bit too. Maybe it's some bad juju out there, I'm not sure. I think their rating at 91 is probably a little higher than it should be. Probably should be a little bit lower considering they haven't been in the finals, but they have lost to really good teams. They don't have any, legacy type losses. So I don't think anything that's too crazy yet, but we're definitely on the tip of the hill before it goes down.
Yeah, I agree. I was a little bit surprised that maybe they still came out number one. Maybe I'm just a victim to recency bias because, it just feels like they're not quite the best anymore. But
totally.
I mean, you got to look at the resume overall. They won 6 or 7 tournaments in a row, 37 series in a row. A couple losses isn't going to take them from the top spot as far as the data is concerned. But let's talk about one of the teams that has been on the rise. We're going to go into number 2 on the list. That's going to be Team Spirit. So our formula gives them a score of 79. Kind of feel like it should be higher as well, but once again, recency bias is a thing. I mean, obviously, it feels like they don't have a Vitality win yet, but they've been able to beat everyone else. So the teams that beat Vitality, they're then able to beat them pretty much with ease. I mean, we just saw a fairly dominant 3-0. I mean, the matches were close, but what do you think it is, or I guess my bigger question is, do we think that Zontix will get another win before he gets the boot from this team?
No, I don't think we'll get to see him again, unfortunately, which it's really tough because the last time you played, they've won 3 of the last 4 events that they've participated in. Obviously, they didn't perform as well as they wanted to at the major, losing to Maus there and getting eliminated. But other than that, they literally have won 3 of the last 4 events, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. But this team, it's no mystery. They live and die by Donk. That is your strategy. That is how it's working. So moving a player around him, I think the Zontix swap is probably going to be net good. And they bring in T1NR, and I think they're going to probably be a net better team after it. So it is probably a good move because, if we're living in Donk's world, what he said after the win today was we still haven't beat Vitality, so we're still not the best team in the world. And I think that it probably should be a little closer in the points category of how close they are in proximity. But I think it is those two, again, 2 best teams in the world. It's weird because, Falcons and Maus, it look like they're so close, but right now it looks like it might be Spirit's world again.
Yeah, it's very interesting how Spirit have just kind of avoided Vitality by virtue of the brackets, or they just won Asana where Vitality didn't even attend. So it's really hard to say until they truly face off against each other. I think that's when that'll kind of settle the score to decide which of these two teams is actually the best.
And it's really interesting too because like the weird piece now with it going more CT sided is like Donk is an AK specialist. So it's like his whole new strategy is basically, hey, we're on CT, just give me that AK.
Yeah.
I need that AK. So it does kind of like help you filter out. And if he does have an AK on the better side now, it's going to probably favor them for a good little bit.
Yeah, 100%, because he's always going to be the hero with the rifle.
Yep.
So very good discussion there. Let's go ahead and talk about number 3, though. And this was a close one, believe it or not, but it is going to be Mouse. Now, this team previously was number 2 on our rankings. Spirit have obviously leapfrogged them with their recent successes, but not by much. 78 is the score for Mouse. This team is just so consistent. I mean, there's really not much I can say bad about them. They generally have historically felt like the mini Vitality, like they're a lot like Vitality, but just a little bit worse.
Totally.
But hey, they beat them the last time they played each other.
True.
So, I mean, 2 finals, but 0 trophies.
Yep.
Do you think that Mouse has what it takes to take one of these down eventually?
I do think in the current form, the biggest thing is that basically the top 2 teams, in this case probably Mouse and Vitality, have shifted down a little bit closer to Spirit's level. And I think the hardest piece is you kind of look at that is like, I think they can win an event. They have beaten Vitality at times. They've shown they consistently beat Spirit. With this current team combination, they're more than capable of winning an event. It's just they're never going to be dominant. They're never going to have their run Vitality because like you said, if we look at Vitality as probably the best overall team where they've got everybody's between a 90 and a 94 rating, I think this Mouse team is everybody's between an 88 and a 92. And then sure, Spirit, they got the one guy that's a 99, but everybody else is probably in the 80s. So it gives them a chance. So that's why I don't think a roster move really makes sense because it could be scary. You could go down because you're arguably one of the 3 best teams in the world. I don't think anybody's debating that. It's just where in that top 3 you're rated. And then how do we like keep materializing them to like, hey, we need the stars to align for you to sneak one in here, but I think they'll get a win. I don't think they should break up until they get a win, but I just don't know how you get better.
Yeah, it feels bad. You finally get the monkey off your back and you beat Vitality, but then you got Spirit.
And you got smoked.
Yeah, and you can't even win a map. It's tough, man. Yep. What's interesting to me about this team too is like, it feels like they're never all like on at the same time. They were all on when they beat Vitality, but then against Spirit, it's like 1 or 2 of them is just having off games or F rounds.
And you love the emotion from players like Torzy, because it's good when you see him having the greatest time when they beat Vitality, it's awesome. And then the next day when they lose, he's like, oh, well, we didn't play today. And I'm like, oh, man, come on, man. I want to see him win. It's a fun team.
Yeah, the dichotomy of man, but before and after playing Spirit in those interviews. But cool, let's jump into number 4. This is my favorite team on the list because of, congratulations to them, their recent victory over Vitality, but that's gonna be the Mongols coming in with 77 in a pretty similar spot to Mao's, I would say. But historically, Mao's has beat them in the head-to-head matchups. They had a bit of an easy run to the finals here if you don't count Vitality. Like everybody else they played were teams they should have beat. On paper, Aurora maybe should have been closer, but this team just gets better and better, I think. I feel like when they have gotten into these big moments and lost, they just continue to learn. So do you think that, you know, if they continue on this upward trend that we're gonna see them in more finals, or what do you think?
I think it's interesting because I think that they're a team that is, you know, surviving and dying off of chemistry. And it's like right now it feels like it is improving. I do think their ceiling isn't quite Vitality Spirit level, but I think similar to Mouse, I think they're capable of winning an event. I think you have a team that's good enough to win an event. You just need to have a slightly favorable bracket and play a compromised Spirit or a compromised Vitality or a compromised Mouse, because like if they're in Spirit shoes in the previous event and play that now kind of winded Mouse team we saw on Sunday 2 weeks ago, that's probably a win for the Mongols, and that's your big win. That's Cologne. That's a big deal. So I think it's doable. I think this team's going to stick together. I don't think they need to make any changes. It's just tough because, you know, like if we said that the average rating of Vitality, all the players were 92, 93, and Mao's is 90, 91, this one feels like it's 89, 88, but they're super close. Like they can do it on any given Sunday. if you just play an informed spirit or an informed vitality, I don't think you could beat both of them, but you saw it this weekend. They can beat one of them, that's for sure.
Yeah, I feel like their ceiling is also just really high, right? Like, yeah, their floor is probably lower than these other teams, but I feel like they can punch up and play, like you said, in the number. If we're talking about the numbers, like I think I've seen them as high as 95, 96, on any given day.
And it's also one of those where when you think about the clips in terms of like what are the cool moments from the finals, it's like the Spirit just had good teamwork and you had Dunk, right? So like there are gonna be those moments, but like all the cool plays, even the cool plays at the major were 9-10 with an ace, and it was like those crazy moments. Like it feels like they give you those flash pan hits of excitement, but it's like you just gotta piece it together on one Sunday, one time to get the whole job done. And that town, shout out to them. Awesome show. 3 in the morning over there watching your hometown team. Like I can't imagine the eruption that place would go if they win a huge event.
Yeah, I mean, they're basically the country's heroes at this point.
100%.
And it does add a bit of pressure when you feel like your whole country is like counting on you to like pull off the upset. But they're rising to the occasion. And 9-10, man, that guy is insane with the op.
Yep.
They just keep getting better and better. Well, let's round out the top 5. This team might surprise a couple people because we haven't even really seen them fully at their best yet, but that's going to be Falcons. Team Falcons are rounding it out with a 73, which, based on the data, is probably a little bit more than they deserve, like as far as their recent tournament placings. But I think they get a bump from the expert consensus score because a lot of people know that this roster has what it takes. They just got to put it all together. I was extremely impressed by Kyosuke, sorry, everyone says his name different, but he would look like their best player in their recent matches, but they just haven't been able to get the job done. What do you think's going wrong with this team?
I mean, if you're a fan of basketball, this feels like when LeBron went to South Beach to join the Heat, and it's like they've made a super team, right?
Yeah.
But similar to that one, they did win in the beginning, and it's been a little bit of a rocky road. I think they're going to get it together because, again, if we're just thinking about the average player rating on players, this is probably the highest rated team in all of Counter-Strike at an average. Now you need them to play together, you need them to gel, you need to actually look cohesive and nice, and that's been the thing they're missing. But again, when you have a new kid come in who's literally playing his first professional matches and is top fragging versus big teams consistently, like they're gonna be so dangerous. I mean, the biggest variable you have here is Nico, who is arguably one of the top 10 players in the history of Counter-Strike. And like, that's your variable. That's the one person you're currently scared about. Don't get me wrong, he's been inconsistent and he has looked dodgy at times, but man, the ceiling on this team is crazy. But I think with a huge ceiling comes a huge floor because, they've been missing playoffs at this point. So it's not gonna be surprising if they walk all the way to the finals and win an event. It's also not gonna be surprising if they don't make it to the bracket. And that's what 5th gets you.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. We can't ignore the fact that they've had the most team changes, I feel like, of any team. Like, it's gotta be hard to feel comfortable and get it home and really lock in when you're a player like Kixin and Tessus and you're wondering if you're just next on the chopping block. Because this team was clearly built around Nico, Modesty, and now Kyosuke joining the picture is I don't know. I hope they just don't make any more changes.
It's also tough when Nico's like, yeah, when I gotta put it up, I'm just gonna go to IGL, and you're like, bro, that's my job. What do you mean you're just gonna go to IGL?
There's just so many things. I mean, I like the fact that they're memeing it. The behind the scenes content that they put together was an amazing little skit, but it's
100%.
It was too real, man. Because
Totally.
That's really what they're feeling in these tournaments. I don't know. I'm hopeful that this team does put it all together and they're gonna win a tournament. So. We'll have to see, and at that point, I would imagine they're going to rise on our tier list. But that's going to be our top 5. We do have one more team we want to talk about, and that's going to be FaZe. It's going to be our honorable mention. This is a really interesting one for me. They actually came in at 9th on our list, but we want to talk about them because, I mean, it's Kerrigan. It's all these players that we know are capable. Frozen and Rain, I feel like, have been on kind of a downtrend. What is it going to take for these guys to come back to relevancy? Because it wasn't that long ago that we saw them in the grand finals of the major.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy what effectively half of a year will do. It's also interesting too because you know, Brokey's back in the lineup, and this is no shade at him, but it does feel at times like Simple gave them a little bit of life. It reinvigorated that team. And it's tough because it feels like they still need, like, you know, they still need another defibrillator hit to kind of bounce back. And this is one of the now old guards of Counter-Strike. You can't imagine events without FaZe, just like we don't like to imagine events without NIP, without Navi, without VP, without these like staple organizations. And it's like, it feels like we're on the edge of losing another one right now. So I think the whole community is like, hey, come on, do something. They little stick me,
Yeah.
like, come on, bro, let's do something.
Do something.
We gotta have some change here, and that's why like they've rumored that it's gonna be Twiz for Liege with the liquid swap, and I don't think that makes either team net better, and it doesn't really change your opportunity. But I mean, we would have said the same thing going into the Shanghai Major, and they ended up in the finals, which, you know, they do some crazy stuff every now and again.
Yeah, and honestly, Twiz, I mean, Team Liquid just looked the best they've looked in a long time at the last tournament. So, like, why would he join a team that's been struggling? It definitely feels like a lateral or even like a worse move for Twiz personally.
Yep.
I think, I mean, the community hates on Brokey a lot, but I feel like, is Dexter just chilling? Like,
I agree.
why is Dexter?
That's one of those things. Like, I mean, I obviously like Simple, and I think it'd be cool, and I think it meets their like swagger of an organization, but like Dexter literally went out as an MVP.
Yeah.
And it's like, that guy's just at home watching. It's crazy.
It is insane. The Counter-Strike scene never disappoints, though. It's been such a fun year of Counter-Strike to watch, and it's only heating up. We got EWC around the corner. That's why we want to make this video leading into EWC so you guys understand who to look out for in the tournament. I'm hoping for Falcons to come back and show what they're capable of. Maybe we'll even see a Mongols in the grand finals again. Who knows? Anything can happen at the Esports World Cup. But this has been another episode of Power Rankings. Just wanted to say thank you for watching. We've got more episodes just like this one for all your favorite matches and games. We'll see you guys in the next episode.